Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. If you enjoy the content and want to stay updated with the latest videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button.
Things just took a very unfortunate turn as we are now entering a very crucial stretch of play for the Toronto Blue Jays. Even though it's very early in the season, the Jays have just officially lost one of the standouts in spring training and someone that they almost picked to make the team. And in a very unfortunate turn of events, he is now gone. We're going to break down this new move and discuss what it means going forward, especially as the Jays pitching depth continues to be tested. But not only that, we do have multiple other injury updates, including a huge update to Cody Ponce and what the plan is for him going forward and how much time he's expected to miss, and some comments following yesterday's brutal loss, and an update surrounding what was supposed to be today's game as it has officially been postponed to tomorrow. A ton to go over on this episode, folks, but before we get into it, quick thank you for all your guys' support, and also bear with the jacket. I'm a little bit cold right now, so I'm gonna rock the jacket in this video. So let's dive right into it, folks. Ton to go over today. Now, I'm talking about, in case you don't know already, Angel Bastardo, and kind of came out yesterday and almost got lost in the scuffle of the game and everything else. He has been returned to the Red Sox per Rule 5. And if you were watching the channel for a while, Angel Bastardo was somebody who was actually heavily considered to actually make the team out of camp. And of course, ultimately was considered a very notable name. And ultimately, they picked Spencer Miles. It was, Chase Lee, Angel Bastardo. But this is somebody that looked really, really good in brief stretches and someone that the Jays absolutely, according to multiple reports internally, and I covered it here on the channel while that was, of course, happening, right? Like while they were still making the decision. Shout out to VD, Ben Nicholson-Smith, all said that they really held Angel Bastardo to a high regard. He has been returned to the Red Sox, which I'm sure the Red Sox are thrilled about. You can even see that here from Keegan Matheson. He was one of the final cuts in camps. Red Sox will surely be thrilled to get him back. And this is not somebody that I really wanted to lose. And I don't think the Jays would have wanted to either. Because you look at the test, the depth that they've already had to test. I mean, you have Mason Flaherty going 4 games in 5 nights. You have, obviously, you did call up Lazaro Estrada, but you also had Spencer Miles, who has had to go probably more in higher roles than they initially thought. All of a sudden, your pitching depth is tested extremely, and this could have been an arm, even though they did sign Austin Voth a couple days ago, this could have been an arm that they absolutely wanted to keep. Now, we can look at it here, and if you're unfamiliar why, because of the Rule 5 draft rules, because they didn't make the team, and ultimately because the Jays didn't pick him to make the team out of camp, he got sent back to the Red Sox. But you can look at some of his stats here. He is in spring training, of course. He ultimately put up a 4.70 ERA, but his stuff looked pretty good, right? And obviously his numbers aren't going to bounce off the page to you. But again, if you go back and look at some of my videos, you look at some of the articles that were made, the Jays held this guy to a pretty high standard. And Red Sox fans, I did some research, are pretty ecstatic to have Mr. Angel Bastardo back. So it is unfortunate, a pretty unfortunate turn here. Again, none of this would matter nearly as much and keep in mind, he's a starter, right? So none of this would matter nearly as much if Cody Ponce hadn't gone down with an injury, if Bieber wasn't as behind as he is, Jose Brios, Trey Savage, all those different pitchers, they're behind. The Jays need length, whether that be out of the bullpen, whether that be a potential upcoming bullpen game, which we'll dive into in this video. It's all very relevant right now, and I'm very unfortunate that Angel Bastardo is back, but it's a decision the Jays made. We'll see what happens with Spencer Miles. But something else to keep in mind going forward is this prospect here. And you can see from Mitch Bannon. Now, I'm going to dive into the Cody Ponce update in a moment here, but he is going to miss, as we know, significant time. That came out a couple of days ago. We do have a new update. But CJ Van Eyck, longtime Jays prospect, since I started this channel back in August 2022, I believe we've been talking about CJ Van Eyck. I think once a top 10 prospect. He went 4 innings pitched, 5 strikeouts with 1 walk and 1 earned run in his debut yesterday night, or a couple nights ago at this point, with the AAA Bisons. As explored here, he's one of the Blue Jays options to fill Ponce's spot in the short term. So keep this in mind as well. Now, they do not have a lot of depth in AAA for starters. You have Adam Macko, who I think they want to prioritize development. You have CJ Van Eyck now. You had, of course, Lazaro Estrada. Outside of that, at this juncture, you don't have a ton of options. But CJ Van Eyck, this is somebody I wouldn't mind seeing, right? He's been in the organization for a while, has already pitched, this year and looked really, really good. We're going to start to see the next man up here. And who's going to be sent down? That's the big question, because you have Lazaro Estrada right now, and the corresponding move for that was putting Cody Ponce on the 15-day IL for now. Ultimately, you're going to have to maybe go 60-day, depending on what happens with his meeting with the doctor, which we'll dive into in a minute here to determine the severity of his AL strain, potential AL tear, or ACL tear, ACL sprain, ACL tear, But you look at this, I would love to see CJ Van Eyck pitch, because you look at what they have going forward, and we're going to dive into the schedule, we're going to do all that, but the game today got postponed. Now, because of impending weather. They already postponed the game before. They postponed it yesterday, so it's not going to be today. It's actually going to be tomorrow now on Friday, which was supposed to be one of their days off. Now, this bodes well in theory for the Jays. You get an extra day to figure things out. It still ends up being the same amount of games, just you have a day off now, which again, kind of up in the air at this point. But
Game 3 arrived at Kauffman Stadium under far more pleasant conditions than earlier in the series, with dry skies and warm temperatures welcoming fans to Kansas City. The Royals were chasing history, looking to complete their first sweep of an opening homestand since 2015. Standing in their way was a Twins team that had other ideas entirely. Cole Ragans took the mound for Kansas City, making his home debut while trying to put a rough opening day start in Atlanta firmly behind him. After missing significant time last season, Ragans represented exactly the kind of frontline starter the Royals need, and early on he looked the part. His changeup was sharp and deceptive, and the longer hitters stayed in at-bats against him, the more they had to respect it. He worked through a lengthy first inning but kept Minnesota off the board, setting the tone for what would become a pitcher's duel. Taj Bradley started opposite Ragans for Minnesota. Coming over from Tampa Bay at last year's trade deadline, Bradley had posted a modest 6.8 record across 27 starts with an ERA just above 5. He showed early why the Twins believed in him, retiring hitters efficiently and showcasing triple-digit velocity on multiple occasions, a sight that had already turned heads during a prior start in Baltimore. The Twins drew first blood in the second inning in somewhat fortunate fashion. With Cody Clemens on base and Royce Lewis at the plate, a wild pitch allowed Clemens to advance. When the ball rolled into center field, he read it perfectly, hesitated briefly at third, then sprinted home standing up. Kansas City catcher Sal Perez took the blame immediately, tapping his chest and acknowledging the error. The Twins led 1-0. Through the middle innings, both starters were dominant. Victor Caratini had a leadoff single for Minnesota, and Kyle Isbell was remarkable for Kansas City, reaching a scorching .600 average on the young season at 9 for 15. But big moments with runners on base kept evaporating. Lane Thomas delivered a highlight reel throw to nail Caratini trying to stretch a hit, and Bradley repeatedly worked out of trouble with late-inning velocity. Ragans, meanwhile, was piling up strikeouts, finishing with 8 on the day, dissecting the Twins' lineup with precision, exploiting weaknesses he had identified across multiple looks. The 8th inning unraveled things for Kansas City. John Schreiber walked Josh Bell to lead off, a decision that would prove costly. Royce Lewis followed with a double off the base of the wall, putting runners at second and third. After an intentional walk loaded the bases, Byron Buxton came through with a sacrifice fly that scored Bell, extending the lead to 2-0. The leadoff walk had come to haunt the Royals. Kansas City responded with some fight in the bottom half. Bobby Witt Jr. and M.J. Melendez worked pitches the opposite way rather than swinging for the fences, producing runners at the corners. A sacrifice fly pulled the Royals within 2-1, and the crowd buzzed with possibility. But the Twins slammed the door in the 9th. Matt Wallner launched an opposite-field solo home run off reliever Steven Cruz to make it 3-1. Cody Clemens, still sporting a gash on his nose from an earlier head-first slide gone wrong, followed with another opposite-field shot to push it to 4-1. Then Josh Bell, homering for the second consecutive day, crushed a hanging slider to center to make it 5-1. 3 home runs in a single inning effectively ended any Royals' comeback hopes. Justin Topa closed things out for Minnesota, retiring the final Kansas City hitters, including a punch-out to end the game. The Twins escaped Kauffman Stadium with a 5-1 victory, winning the series finale and denying the Royals their sweep. For Minnesota, it was a timely bounce-back win before heading home to Target Field for their own home opener. For Kansas City, it was a tough loss in a game that felt winnable deep into the night, one where a leadoff walk and 3 ninth-inning home runs made all the difference.